Sounds good.
Hi, everybody. My name is Beth Barteletti, and I am one of the directors of college counseling at International College Counselors. We have been around since 2004, and I'll talk about us in just a minute. But first, I'd like to welcome Hege Ferguson, who is the director of admission at FSU. She has been with FSU for close to 27 years. She's originally from Norway. I'd love to hear the story of how you came to FSU at some point. Pardon?
I said, that sounds good. I'll be glad to
Yeah.
share it.
And has been there, like I said, for 27 years. She came and she never left. She has her BA in International Affairs and her master's in social sciences from the university. She speaks 4 languages, English, of course, Norwegian, French, and German. And she is part of SACAC, which is the Southern Association of College Admission Counselors, and NACAC, which is the National Association, and NAFSA, which is the Association of International Educators. As for myself, I've been in the profession for 23 years. I spent 14 years in admission at Reed College in Portland, Oregon. I grew up in Miami and actually am an alumna of Florida State. I spent then, after Reed, spent 3 years in the college counseling office at Heritage, and I think some of my colleagues are on this call, so happy Cinco de Mayo to you. And then I've been working as an independent college counselor for the last 5 years. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is not just, of course, FSU admission, but the holistic admission process. And Hege's going to explain what that means and how it works in Florida State admission in that process. And let's see, the next slide is just about us, our company. We help students from all over the world with everything related to college admission, high school planning and guidance in terms of helping you figure out the classes that you should take. We help you with your extracurricular and academic interest refinement. We don't tell you what to do, but we help you perhaps find your passion. Developing and narrowing your college list, helping you with your essay so that you can put your best writing forward, doing a review of the application to make sure it is mistake-free, doing interview preparation in case you are working on applications to colleges that require or recommend an interview, and of course, exploration of financial aid and scholarships. We also, of course, help you with navigating your way through times of crisis, as now. Lots of new things to navigate in the process, as you probably have noticed. We do have offices up and down the East Coast, many in Florida here, and then in New York, Connecticut, and North Carolina. And just as a note, we work in conjunction with school counselors. We don't replace the school counselors, but we are sort of what a tutor might be to a teacher. We help you beyond what the school counselor is doing and provide that extra assistance. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Hege at this point. And Hege, just let me know when you want me to move the slides, if you would.
Yeah, thank you, Beth, and thank you for having me. You and I talked about this briefly early on, but this is sort of like the new normal now, being able to wear your relaxed clothes. I'm able to sit on my front or my back porch rather in my rocking chair. And since I just came from another meeting, sitting in a rocking chair is really very nice thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cinco de Mayo, and unfortunately, all I have in my cup is water for now. But
Me too.
It is. It's just always just a nice opportunity to meet and connect with other professionals in this world of education. And if the pandemic has brought any good things, I think that has been one of the things that it has done, and it has broken down some barriers and some rituals that I think have been there before. And so speaking just for myself, I've done a lot more of these webinars, if you will, connecting with people really throughout the world and the country in a more relaxed setting, which I think is really nice because it's enough stress in our lives as it is, then why not? Why can't we come to get together in a forum like this and kind of share our thoughts and, you know, processes of what we are doing.
And
so
that there's real people on the other side of the admission process.
Yeah, I think that has been really nice as well. You know, everyone knows, you know, my name is a Norwegian name. And so for those that don't know me, I find that most people assume that I'm a male.
Oh.
And so I get Mr. Ferguson all the time. And so this is just kind of an opportunity for people to see who we are. We got real lives. You know, I'm working from home. My husband is working from home. I have 2 teenagers. So for all of you that got teenagers, you know, we deserve some special price, I think. And, you know, and then I also have 2 children that come and spend some time with us that sometimes need a reprieve. So it's a busy time in our lives, and it's also a very stressful time. So I'm hoping through these webinars that we have the opportunity to connect and recognize that we're actually working together real well, and perhaps even more importantly, it will be that we continue to work together. Beth, you wanted to change the slide for me?
Sure.
So I wanted to just kind of share with you some things about Florida State. Some of you may not be as familiar with FSU, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm not here to give an information session about Florida State. But what I will tell you is really for us, as many college and university have done, we have shifted our presence now to having a lot of things virtually. So for you, those of you students that were thinking about coming to visit with us, we don't know when we are accepting visitors again to campus. By going to our website, our students are able to have virtual information presentations. We have walking tours of campus, virtual walk-in tours. We have a virtual tour of our residency halls, financial aid presentation, and international program presentations. Just a really whole smorgasbord of different options for the students. We'll continue to add to that. Recognizing, of course, that it does not replace what a visit to campus would be, but at least giving these students an opportunity to see what we're like. We're also added a feature of doing Zoom calling with students, and so they can request to talk to other FSU students that are currently here, and talk to an admissions counselor via Zoom. So there's definitely that opportunity to connect one-on-one with real people at the university. So that's one of those things that we've kind of added to our list of opportunities for students to connect with us. You want to go ahead and change the slide?
Sure, and I'll just add, hold on. I will just add too that in addition to what Hege said, a lot of colleges are doing that. So if you're finding yourself at a loss because you can't visit a campus that you plan to visit over spring break or over the summer, the college admission counselors and representatives are available in a way that they haven't been. They're not on the road. They're not, for the most part, in meetings. They are at home like most of us. And so they are available to answer your phone call or to set up a Zoom and give you individual attention that you may not have gotten previously. So that's a silver lining, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's very true, Beth. And I think in some ways it's been very positive with this generation. They really crave more than anything more authentic kind of connection with a person. They're not as much into the whole, you know, picture perfect brochures, etc. They just want to get the real deal. And so I think by offering this opportunity, we're kind of getting to more of what their needs are. And I think that's a good thing. This is just a quick graph. I think some of you that are familiar with Florida State knows that in the last few years, we have really seen a pretty steep increase in the applications at Florida State. And while that's great, it also poses some problems in the sense that trying to figure out who on my 63,000 application for my freshman class, about 6,000 students, 6,000 to 6,200 is what I was being asked to bring in. It's not an easy feat. We have and have been blessed with just some incredibly students, and that's just, you know, trying to find those students that are a good fit with our university. That's really at the core of what we're trying to do. FSU's got the highest four-year graduation rate in the state of Florida of all the public universities. So I think we've done a good job of identifying who the right fit students are for the most part. We also have a 93% retention rate of our students. So again, I think we're doing well, but we always want to do better. And you know, when I look at a class and get my enrollment goals from the administration, I always see it as an opportunity to build community. And I think that that's a message I'd like to see more people recognizing. It's not just about bringing in bodies. It's really about, you know, helping create a community and bring students to our campus that we feel would be a good fit for FSU. Not all students are going to be a good fit for Florida State. And so as we talk a little bit more about the holistic review a little later in the presentation, you can kind of see some of those things that we think are important. But again, you know, having a lot of applications, in some ways that's a blessing, but in other ways it makes it more difficult in reviewing them to make the right decisions. Next slide. All right, so here what you're seeing is just, you know, sort of the numbers. These numbers are important to me, that we have an opportunity to share with the students. You know, I did not put the GPA and test scores on there, and I kind of did that on purpose, because I think it's much more important that the student hear this message of, as we're building communities, what are the things that we are looking for in the application process? And so for us, in our community, we really wanted to see a larger representation of students. And so you can see we admitted students from all our 50 states, and the DC was super excited to be able to get somebody from South Dakota this year. We didn't have last year.
That sounds a challenge.
South Dakota, but that was exciting for us. You see, for those of you who are familiar with the Florida counties, that is not a typo. There are 67 counties in Florida. We're only able to get 66 counties. Liberty County was holding out on us this year. There's also the least populated county in Florida. And so that was something that was a little bit more sad to us. And so we're making special efforts to make sure that we're reaching out to Liberty County this next year to make sure that we can get all 67 counties represented. But as you can tell from these numbers, you know, students and high schools from many places, and that's something that we really value at Florida State. And so that is something that we look at. The students that were admitted, and I think this is an important piece to keep in mind, particularly as we have conversations about going test optional or not, which, by the way, putting that out there right now, going test optional is not a decision that FSU or any of the public universities in Florida can just readily decide to go out and do on their own. It is currently, as written in the Florida Board of Governors regulation, 6.002, for those of you that are interested, is that students are required to have a test score. So unless that changes, if there's a change to this regulation, test score is required. When we review a student's application, we are really very much looking at the grade performance of the students. You can see our students, 68% of our admitted students had all A and B grades. And I think, you know, or at least for myself, you know, knowing that a student's been able to go through high school with all A and B grades, you're doing something right. And just speaking from having a sophomore in high school, I know it does not come easy to be able to have all A and B grades. What this statistics does not tell you, though, is that 68% of the student had an average of 9 AP courses or its equivalent. So that means it's in a rigorous academic curriculum. I do not want you, however, to take away from that to go out to say to your students, you must have 9 AP classes or more to be able to get admitted to Florida State. It's just as an example of what the rigor is that we are seeing and have come to expect from our students that are applying to FSU. The other part of it I think is important is the math level preparedness. And coming from someone like myself that is not, let's see, no, my screen fell out, that is not a math person, I would tell you that the 59% of our students that completed an advanced math, that is, you know, when you're looking at equivalent of calculus or higher. It doesn't mean that we don't admit students that have trig or pre-calc or something like that. However, there is going to be an emphasis that students have as much math as possible, even for my students are going into the social sciences or the arts, etc. Research shows that the more math that students take in high school, the better prepared they will be for college. Same thing will go for the word languages. And you see 41% had an advanced word language. That means students had either 4 years of the same language or the equivalent to AP or IB. Lisa, I can see your message. She said it was hard to hear about the math because of the wind. I apologize. I'll say that again. For the math, it is 59% of it had math, and that's with calculus or higher. Again, I'm not saying that everybody needs to have calculus, but we are expecting students to have as much math as possible as they're going through their senior year as well. So definitely something that's important to keep in mind. I will tell you that when I see an applicant that has math for college readiness in their senior year, that is not a good thing. We are expecting them to take a higher level math course beyond that. So something to kind of keep in mind. Other than that, looking at the average number of high school units, you'll see, you know, these are much higher than what the minimum requirements are. And I think that's important to share with the students and their family members. You know, completing the minimum of what is required for graduation simply is not going to be enough. We're expecting the student to continue to challenge themselves in the classroom. However, that needs to be as what is appropriate for the student and the individual. So, you know, you don't want to push someone into taking calculus, you know, AP, when that is not an area of strength for them, because what we don't want to do is to push students into academic areas that is going to be beyond their reach. It's good to challenge, but not going above what their potential is.
Hege, I have a
Beth, you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Related to that, with world language, I often see students who have started their language requirements in 7th or 8th grade. So let's say they've taken Spanish 1 in 7th and Spanish 2 in 8th.
Right.
Then like to see 4 more years of, or at least maximizing what their high school offers? Or would you look at it like if they took 3 and 4 and stopped in when they started junior year and replaced that with another academically solid class, how would you look at that? What would FSU's response be to that?
Yeah, so let's say I had that student that did take Spanish in 7th and 8th grade and did really well. Amazing to them, you know, they did okay. Would I like for that student to continue on in high school? Yes, I would. I would recommend that they continue to do that. On the flip side, it could be like my son who is in 7th grade, just completed Spanish 1, probably has just about every minute of it. He's getting out of it with A's, and he's gonna take Spanish 2, but he's not one that I see going through 4 years of Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's sort of like, you know, that student that it's not a good fit for, don't make them do it. It will be absolutely miserable, and it could have some negative impacts on there in terms of their grade and their overall feeling about academic success. But for that student, yes, but for that student that, you know, this is definitely something that they could do. Yeah, I would encourage them to continue to take the foreign language.
Okay, great. Next slide.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, so here are some of the numbers, and you could just look at a GPA, test scores, etc. I don't expect that to be much different from this next year, and it was just really simply for you to just kind of have a view of it. You'll see that it's slightly different for the summer, not by much. And I would say, you know, when you have that student that really want to start their college experience in the fall, have them apply for the fall. And as we review the application, you know, if they're not a good candidate, of course, for the fall, we will automatically consider them for the summer and offer that as an opportunity. And I know that that's different from some other colleges and universities, but that's what we do at Florida State. And Beth, if I could stop for 1 minute, because I see a couple of questions in the chat area. There was questions about how do you view AP versus dual enrollment? We don't. In the state of Florida, AP and dual enrollment are weighted the same. It's the whole point that they get evaluated. The only thing I would say, what makes a difference is you're taking dual enrollment, your clock for taking college level courses has started. So whatever your performance is in that dual enrollment course is going to be with you for the rest of your time in college. And some people don't kind of think about that or remember that. And so, for instance, if you took a dual enrollment course and you got a B or a C in a dual enrollment course, and you come to Florida State and you get all A's, you know, when we're looking at you for graduating summa cum laude, you're not going to make it because of these dual enrollment courses. So, you know, think really hard about what is the best mode of instruction, if you will, or best mode for learning, dual enrollment, or AP. You know, you're the one who's knowing the kids. You're the one who will be able to advise them better. But it's the same thing. ACE, IB, dual enrollment, AP, all weighted the same. And again, this is set by the Florida Board of Governors. And I see there's a couple of other questions too. I try to keep up with it, but forgive me if I can't do all of them. But I think this is a good question, is explain how the GPA is over a 4.0. I think that is a great question, particularly on the slide that's here. It's really based on a 5-point scale, because in the state of Florida, an honors course is weighted a half point, while AP, ACE, IB, and approved dual enrollment is weighted a whole point. So it's essentially on a 5-point scale, and we will go ahead and recalculate the grade point average using the academic core classes. Want to change the slide, Beth?
Sure.
These are some opportunities to Florida State that was created in the last 2 years that really have had some great successes with. That's okay. You want to get it? There you go. This is the Seminole Pathways program, and we started this. This is going into our third year. Our years are running together. And this is in regards to, these are really good students, but we have limited spaces on campus. So when I have my fall freshman class filled, I got my summer freshman class filled, but I still have this group of students that I know are going to be able to come to our campus and still be successful students. And so we partner with a couple of different FSU campuses to see if we can offer those students another opportunity to be an FSU student. And so that resulted in what's called the Seminole Pathways program. It's not a program that the student apply for. It's a program that we review and select the students and give them the opportunity to decide if they would like to take advantage of this program. It has 4 options as part of the Seminole Pathways program, 4 options. The most popular option is the student will go to a state college, preferably in Florida, but not required. And they will take 15 credit hours, 5 classes. And these are courses that we will tell the student to take. And it will be typically general ed courses, similar to what they would have been taking as an FSU student. They complete those courses with a 3.0 as their college grade point average, and then we'll be able to start on the Tallahassee campus at FSU in January, coming in as a transfer student. Then we have the first year abroad program, and that's essentially where the student is going to one of our 4 study centers. So again, it's an FSU student, but I have some spaces in London and in Florence and in Panama and Valencia. And so these students will go there for a year. They go fall, spring, summer, and then come to the Tallahassee campus that following fall. We also have the first semester abroad where the students will spend their fall semester at one of our 4 study centers again, and then come to the Tallahassee campus in the spring semester. And then we have a smaller campus. It is the Panama City campus. It's an FSU campus, and students go there for the fall, spring, and then they can transition to the Tallahassee campus starting in the fall. Or if they choose to stay in Panama City, they can do so as well and finish out their degree at FSU. So a variety of different options for students to take. The most popular one won't come as a surprise to you. You know, that was the transferring into FSU for the spring semester. I have been surprised by how many students want to travel internationally. And so right now I have about 223 students broken down pretty evenly between the first semester and the first year. And you know, these students are just much more global. The FSU Panama City is a much smaller campus and therefore also have a smaller number of students that are attending there as well. Next slide. And Susanna was asking me, can you repeat the list of international campuses? Sure, it is London, it is Valencia in Spain, it's Florence in Italy, and it is Panama in the Republic of Panama. And I will add, I've had the fortunate opportunity to visit London, Valencia, and the Republic of Panama, and they are fantastic. And on my bucket list is going to the newly opened campus in Florence. They got a whole new building that they just reopened. So I'm excited to be able to go ahead and see that. The spring offer is the final offer. Again, not something that the student can apply for, but this is the student sort of below that level, if you will, of Seminole Pathways offering. And so that student is just given the opportunity to go out of state college in the fall, taking the 5 classes, earning a 3.0, and then coming to FSU in January as a transfer student. Next slide.
Can we pause here and answer some of the questions?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, could you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Did you want to ask the questions, or do you want me to?
I can, let's see. Somebody asked, Stacy asked, what are the core classes FSU uses to make the GPA for admission, and are they weighted? Do abut count? Yes, they do.
Yes, the core classes that we use for calculating a grade point average. And again, this is, set for the state of Florida as a public university. And those are your English courses, your math, your natural science courses, your social science courses, and your world languages. We do also bring into the GPA calculation your elective courses. There are AP, ACE, IB, and then if they are approved, dual enrollment courses.
And then somebody asked a good question. I've heard you answer this before, but I think it would be great for you to clarify for our group here. If I graduate high school with my associates, would I be considered a transfer or a freshman?
I thank you for asking that question, and let it be known, it is as applying as a first year student. And so I know that there's been some confusion about that, but again, it is in the Florida Board of Regulations. These students are graduating from the high school at the same time as they're earning an AA degree, but therefore must apply as first year students. They're just coming in with enough credits to be in junior status. They will be evaluated and considered in the admissions application process as Michael regarding the decision to go test optional. Yes, there is a press conference from the Florida Board of Governors today. I don't know exactly what time it is, but yes, we are waiting to hear what they are wanting to say. That's all I know. I don't even know any of the secrets. The 12 state university directors of admissions were asked to provide some information to them. We did. And that's the last that we've heard of it. So we are just as anxious as everyone else to hear the press conference today.
We're having I lost you for a minute. Did you talk about how that you apply as a freshman when you come in with your associates, but there is no to dabble and see what you want to major in at that point?
No, it's not. With an AA degree, you have completed all your general education courses. You are ready for your major, or should be ready for your major. And so, we have found that there is a fair number of students that are not aware of that. And so they come and they think that, but I'm not ready to take major classes. You have to, because all your general ed courses have already been completed. And so now, yes, you're coming in as an 18-year-old and you will be taking classes with college juniors and seniors because they are in their major courses, and that's where you will be as well.
But there's the More in 4 program that they could.
Yeah, they can do More in 4, which really allows you to do a bachelor's and a master's degree program. And so FSU has some two great programs. One is the More in 4, which is a new program that started this last year that allows the students to be on track to completing a bachelor's and a master's degree within the 4 years time period. They have specialized advising as well as priority sort of help with the registration. And then we also have a degree in 3. And that's great for those students that are coming in that have sort of their academic path already mapped out. And so, allowing them to also have specialized advising and be on the path to be able to graduate in 3 years.
Somebody asked, how do you feel about a student taking AT microbiome versus anatomy honors? That's a very specific question.
What was the taking what?
Could you hear me?
Say that one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Like I said, audio difficulties. How do you feel about AT microbiology versus anatomy honors?
Oh gosh. You know, I would never in a million years without having seen the student's transcript, having had the chance to
Look at the course
with
description.
them, academic interest, you know, all of that. Yes, it's much more. Anytime I give advice like that, I really need more information to be able to give a proper answer, to be honest with you.
I also have I see a question from my sorority sister from FSU. What are considered approved dual enrollment classes? Is there a list of those?
Yeah, there is. Thank you for asking. And so if you Google Counseling for the Future Education Handbook, there is, and this is information that's given by the DOE every year, and they have in there a listing over dual enrollment courses within each subject area that are recommended for each area. And so we look at that from the college standpoint. And, you know, anytime I get questions from parents and students that ask me about what dual enrollment courses should I take, I always say you should stick with your general ed courses, because anytime you're looking at taking courses for majors, that's what we want to do at Florida State. That's part of earning your degree. So stick with the general ed courses for what you have an interest in.
And then a question from Pam, who's asking about the abroad programs, and I think she means the Seminole Pathways. Do they have a separate application?
They do not. It's really simply as when we give our decisions, we go ahead and offer them this opportunity as a web form to complete, to be honest with you, and then the students can read about it, and then they can select which one that they want to take and let us know, and then we will update their application accordingly. So it's a pretty easy process for them, to be honest. All right, so you moved me on to the senior year timeline. That's fine. And so, you know, just really quick, our applications, and we have 3 applications. It's the FSU institutional application, it is the coalition application, as well as the common applications. And I will tell you, and this doesn't come as a surprise to you, that the vast majority of our students are choosing the common application. It was about 79% of the students chose to apply using the common application. I will tell you, please don't have them fill out more than 1 application. Sometimes we have some students that complete 3, and that doesn't give you a better chance. We will just take the most recent application and cancel out the 2 other ones, so to keep that in mind. We did change our priority deadline this year to December 1st, and I see, Beth, you were happy about that.
I just think
In
it
response
shows a real response to what's happening, and I appreciate that you're, you know, not being tone deaf to the whole situation.
I think that was kind of one of those easy things for me, that I was like, oh gosh, let's make some more time, kind of thing. And then of course, when will we give the decisions? Well, I will tell you, with moving that, I do need some more time to review the application. So while I'm not ready to tell you that this is the date that has been set, I will tell you that I am leaning very, very strongly to being towards the end of February. And we will continue to do what we do, which is giving our decisions on that Thursday. And then we stay in the office until 9 o'clock on that Thursday night when we are releasing decisions, so that we are available to families and students and counselors to be able to contact us and talk about our decisions and everything else. So it'll just be a matter of me being able to kind of say, okay, this is the date, but that's kind of where I'm at today, for sure. And I've been there for a while, so it's just a matter of pulling the trigger, to be honest.
I don't know, probably the people on the webinar have not, or maybe they have already been through this with an older student, an older child, but I can't tell you how many colleges drop their decisions on a Friday at 5 or 6, and then they're gone for the weekend. So I really appreciate that FSU is transparent enough and kind enough to keep their office open
Yeah.
to take those calls.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy, having been on the admission side, to take those calls when people are upset or shocked or both. So it's just another example of FSU's compassion. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And it's true, you know, there's some of people's emotions are raw, but I will tell you, I usually will stay available for my counselors, because, you know, they can get a direct line to me, so that I can kind of work with them. And then my staff handles more of the public, unless they're so irritated that they have to bump them up to me because I need to talk to them. But I think, you know, again, it kind of goes towards that whole transparency, right? We made a decision. I feel comfortable with decisions. And, you know, sometimes it just takes just that opportunity to explain how we made a decision. And then I think too, the other thing that we do is we explain that there are alternate paths for coming to Florida State. So if you really wanted to come to FSU, we can make that happen. It doesn't end now. And I think that that's an important message too, is that, you know, for those that really want to come to Florida State, let's talk about how we can make that happen. And I think that goes a long way in making people feel more comfortable.
Yes.
So here you see the three applications. The one thing that not perhaps everyone is as familiar with, but that is truly a really important part for us, is the self-reported student academic record, or SAR as we call it. I will tell you single-handedly, probably the most important software that we have that helps keep me sane, because in the state of Florida in particular, we are actually known nationally for our high school transcripts being not easily digestible. And that's not a good reputation, but it is what it is. But what we have found is that by students using their high school transcript and reporting that information using the SAR, we are able to digest the information that's provided to us in a much more flexible, much more data-driven way. This is not the same thing as doing the self-reported on the Common App. So when students are saying, do I need to do the self-report or do the self-report on the Common App, or should I just do that and then I can send that to Florida State? It is not the same thing. We do not pull that in from the Common App, because the Common App data is not does not have information that we can do our data inquiry on. And so for the SAR we can, and so it allows me to be able to do a lot of data-driven research, and I can get all kinds of different types of GPAs. You know, I can get a weighted, an unweighted, a dual enrollment, a math GPA. I can get for the grade trends. I mean, you name it, I can get it. And so it's an important, very important tool for us as we use it in our admissions process. And I'm actually going to show you a couple of slides a little later here that you can see why it is that, you know, looking at it as we look at it, why it's such a helpful tool for us. Next slide, Beth.
Oh, we already talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. December 1st, the priority deadline. Looks like it's going to be priority decisions at the end of February.
Okay.
And it is important.
Holistic admission, but do you want to, well, no, because that ties into what you're talking about.
Yeah, and this is just a quote, really, to just kind of get an idea. You know, my sense is that when I work with my colleagues, and I hear all the time, is like, you know, we throw this word around, holistic review. You know, what does that really truly mean? And as I would say, you know, really the holistic review is the fact that it isn't just one or two things. And what most people will tell me, being at a public university, a larger public university, is you're probably only looking at GPA and test scores. And I would tell you, no, that is not true. You know, there are students that have been denied that have excellent GPAs and test scores, but there were things within their application that made us feel that they weren't a good fit. So when you look at this, thank you, Beth, these are all the different types of evaluation factors, and most of them are going to be, familiar to you all. When you are looking at, the grades, that's something that is important to us. We want to see the rigor. We look at the test scores. Grade trend is hugely important. I will tell everyone, I am much more forgiving of a student that has grades in that might be a little weaker in ninth grade than what they are in junior year. If you're coming into the junior year and you are getting your C's and you got a D, that's going to be a problem. And that's just being real. And so the way that we review applications, and I don't think this is going to come as a huge surprise, but if it does, so be it. You heard it from me. So when we look at our applicant pool, we will look at the top 25%, and those are your students, and you know exactly who they are. They are your rock star. They're your superstars. They're going to get admitted to just about every college that they're applying to. I don't need to spend much time on them because they're awesome. Then I got my lower 25%. And frankly, they are too low. Grades, tests, etc., where it would warrant an exception to our admissions requirements to get them admitted. So I'm not going to spend much time with them. Where I spend the majority of my time is in the middle 50th. And so that's where we are looking at all of this, these pieces, if you will. They're a part of that holistic review. So your grades, your grade performance, the rigor, the math level, the world language level, all of those things we will take into consideration. Test scores. I find, and you all probably have this experience as well, when I'm out and about and I have a mom and a dad that come up to me and would like to talk to me, and they start off the conversation about talking about the students' community and volunteer work, usually that academics is not as strong as they would be. And that has just been my experience. And I would tell you, nothing is really going to make up for the performance in the classroom from 3 years. That is the most important aspect of our application review, is the performance in the classroom, the rigor that the student completed, how they challenged themselves. That is what we value the most. So
I think you broke up a little bit when the wind was going through, and I think all people heard was community service, and after that, the most important thing is classroom. So it was an unfortunate timing, but maybe you could reiterate that point.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you for being patient with me. Yeah, no, as I was saying is, a lot of times when I get questions from parents and students, and they start the conversation off with wanting to talk about their community service and volunteer work, that's nice, but that usually tells me that perhaps the academics of which they would be wanting to talk about is perhaps not as strong. And I think it's important for them to know that your volunteer work, your community service, your extracurricular cannot make up for 3 years of schoolwork and what you completed in high school. And so, we see extracurricular activities, your essays, all of those things as supplement to your application, and frankly gives us a better idea as to who you are as a person. What is it that interests you? What is it that drives you? And I also preface by saying it is not a competition about having a long list of community service and volunteer hours. If that's not what interests you, and that's not what you love to have part of your life, then don't. But do think about, what it is that you like to do. What is it that drives you? Because again, going back to what I had said earlier, we're building a community, and I would like to know what it is that you're bringing with you so that, you know, you can be an active participant in our community. For the landscape data that you see here, if you want to just go back, I'm sorry, Beth. For the landscape data, I will tell you, we know a lot about the schools based on your profiles. So yes, we have a whole library of those that we update when you send them to us, but we also go into your websites and check for those often. And so that is just kind of getting to know the school. And we do not compare one school to the other. The student is evaluated in the context of the school that the student is attended and what is offered there. And then the last piece, just life challenges. You know, I think it's important for the student to know, you know, this is an opportunity for you to share with us something about you that you would like for us to know. Because more than anything, I hear from students and parents, but you don't know this about me, when we were not able to offer them admission. And I can say, no, I didn't. Did you write about it in your essay? Did you send that as a supplement? You know, and they're like, no, I didn't know that I could. Okay, well, you know, that's something that's important. We want to get a sense of who the student is as being a part of our community, just to kind of be thinking about that as well. And for this year, I honestly think a lot of it is going to be, I want to know how resilient you are, right? Because these students are amazing. And how have they been coping with this? What have they been doing? And you know, what are some of their examples of their resilience? Because that's an important piece too, as they transition into college.
So that ties in to a question that came up earlier, which asked, does Florida State accept supplemental information? So, and to the question of the student saying, I wasn't sure I could do that, or I didn't know I could do that. Again, there's real people on the other end of the phone, on the other end of the computer. Send an email. It doesn't hurt to ask, as I tell my students that I work with. All they can do is say no. So it doesn't hurt to add. Nobody's going to say, oh, let me take your file and, you know, throw it in the trash now because you asked that question.
No. And honestly, you know, there's so many different essay topics to choose from, that I think, you know, choose one that you feel allows to best represent you. When you are listing your community service, your volunteer hours, your extracurriculars, don't forget to include, you know, have a job. You know, I'm surprised and just baffled. I don't know how these students do it sometimes, when I see how many students are working 30 hours and more and still carrying on these, you know, outstanding academic performances. I would want to know that, because the skills that students are able to gain through employment are invaluable. And so, you know, instead of perhaps focusing on trying to give me a picture of what you think I would like to see, focus on being your authentic yourself. Like, who are you? That's what I like to see beyond the grades and the test scores. And so I'm seeing that students are getting better at that. And so, you know, that's the kind of stuff that we are looking at in the essays, in their resumes, over different things. We're trying to just get a better sense of what is the student, what is it that drives the student, what does the student engage with, and what are they involved with, so that I have an idea of what would they want to do when they come to Florida State.
Do you mind? I don't know if we have time for it to look at the SAR.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe we can just look at the.
All right. Okay, so ta-da! You know, this is, I think it's important to share this with you, because this is, if you were to call me, this is the first thing that I bring up in our conversation about a student. And so this very comprehensively gives me a really good data point for what the student has completed, as opposed to having to kind of, you know, sift through transcripts, turning pages and trying to figure it all out. And so you see these are broken down in the academic subjects that we talked about were the core academic classes, as well as the area for elective courses. You see that they are by grade level. And while the color coding doesn't mean so much for you right now, for someone like me who lives in that world, I can take a quick look at this and just know immediately that this student has a very rigorous academic curriculum. The combination of the AP classes and the honors courses, yes, they're a very, very strong student. And that's without even having to look at the GPA. So I'm not looking at the GPA, I'm just looking at the screen to see what is this student, how is their performance. And then you see their grades, you see what the subjects are. It's just an easily digestible form of being able to see the academic performance of a student. And it just, I can't even tell you how much time it saves to just be able to look at this real quickly like that, as opposed to just turning pages and trying to figure out what it all means. I do get questions, and I think this is an important part to address. I do get questions from people that want to know, well, this is all self-reported. Don't you get concerned about students self-reporting their grades? Students are amazingly honest when it comes to self-reporting their information, both for GPA and self-reported test scores. FSU uses both. And so in comparison, this last year, and this number's been pretty static for the last couple of years, usually about 5 students or less will rescind their offer of admission because they misrepresented their SAR. On the flip side, for those students that get a case of senioritis, so their senior grades are not so good, we rescinded about 78 of those this last year. So there really is no 5 students in the grand scheme of a freshman class of 6,200. I'm not worried about that. And so we literally will go ahead and use the SARs you see here and then have the high school transcript, and we will look through matching. That's part of what we do once we receive their final high school transcript, making sure that it's matching us.
You want to denied?
Yeah, you want to look at the denied. Again, doesn't take, forget looking at the GPA, because if you looked at the GPA, you'll see the weighted is a 366. I don't know, that sounds pretty good to me. I mean, is that someone that I could have offered spring to? Probably. But, when you're looking at it and you see the number of C's and you see the D's and when did the D's occur, and, you just get this sense that, this is someone I'm concerned about. There's obviously much more to it in terms of the evaluation, but as an admissions counselor looking at this, I think if we work together in the room, I think we would probably both agree, yeah, I have some concerns about this student.
Okay. Just real quickly.
And this is just
something we had talked about.
Yeah. This is, and I would encourage you to go to our website. We have a very good website, admissions.fsu.edu, first year student, and then click on acceleration credit. It gives you there for every acceleration opportunity, AP, CLEP, IB, ACE, etc., down to what the exams are, what the score is, and what that would be equivalent to in course credit. So, students can get up to 45 hours worth of acceleration credit. And so essentially 1.5 years of their college is already completed through acceleration credits. All right, I think we were able to get through that, didn't we?
Oh my God, 1 minute left. I would just thank you, Hege. I so appreciate your time this afternoon. And it's been a privilege to co-host this with you. For those of you listening to the webinar, I just want to remind you, or perhaps I didn't say to begin with, that I will be in touch with you after the webinar. And as part of being on the webinar today, we at International College Counselors are happy to provide a 1-hour free consultation for you. And I can help you, and so can my colleagues, navigate all of these things that almost sounded Greek. Maybe we in the college admission world speak some Greek. That's Hege's 5th language. College admission speak. There's a lot of acronyms and things to keep track of and things to navigate and things to understand that we can help you with. So we'd be happy to help you with your journey to a successful college path as well. So thank you everybody for being here. Also, if I didn't get to your questions, I'd be happy to answer those during that consultation, or you can send me an email. My information is here. It's very simple, beth@internationalcollegecounselors.com. And good luck to everybody and stay safe and well. Thanks again, Hege. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now.